When I think about the status of our economy, a lot of issues come to mind. Credit card debt, the instability of our banks and financial institutions, and let's not forget the price that we pay for a gallon of gas. But perhaps one of the most prominent issues that is plaguing the United States today is that of foreclosure. I recently read a quote from Stella Chase. Ms. Chase says that today's mothers and fathers, with only the American dream for guidance, extend and overextend themselves physically, emotionally, and financially during the best years of their lives to ensure that their children do better and go further than they did. When I read this quote, I realized that she touched the nerve. She had uncovered the issue that I believe that we are really dealing with today, and that is that we are all just trying to live the American dream. I moved here in 2005 from Rhode Island. I moved out to the Golden Gate Estates area in Naples. During 2006 and 2007, that area quickly grew. What was once a vast swamplands quickly became an area that was booming with construction, and the schools were filling up and the roads were filling up. I have specifically etched in my mind the length of time that it would take me to drive the 26 miles from my home to downtown Naples. Roads constantly were jammed. You couldn't get in, you couldn't get out. There was just an extensive stream of traffic. And that traffic being no longer evident is one of the ways that I can see day in and day out that the Golden Gate Estates area, at least, I know firsthand, has emptied just as quickly as it has filled up. Here we are 3 years later, and we are in the grips of the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. I'm sure that we can all agree. And there's not a crack or a crevice in the United States that has not yet been affected by the wrath of foreclosure. As was previously predicted, the real estate bubble has finally burst. Foreclosures have increased 423% in Lee County alone. And a recent study of recent statistics that have been released show that Collier County is now affected, and it has been affected to the extent of 650% of an increase. I was very interested, though, in finding out what some of these banks that are owning these homes now have to say, or if they have any plans for any of these homes that they own, that they're holding on to. I contacted two prominent banks. I contacted Wells Fargo and Deutsche Bank, and at this point, I tried 3 or 4 times that they had both declined comment on the current status of their properties. According to RealtyTrack, which is an online marketplace for foreclosure properties, the typical, and I say typical, national timeline from the initial date of late mortgage payment, so that's basically the first time that you pay your mortgage late, to foreclosure is 180 days. Now when I say typical, what we're dealing with now is not typical, because the real-time average amount, according to the Collier County Property Appraiser's Office, the real amount of time that lapses between an initial late payment and the actual lender repossession date now is 12 to 15 months, and this is based on the amount of backlog, and that's just how long it's taking now for these lenders to not only try to deal with and work with the homeowners, but eventually to get them out, to get the homeowners out of the home. A query of the property appraisers' websites for both Lee and Collier counties have shown that a large portion of homes in both of those counties now are owned by banks or lenders. Collier County, Deutsche Bank now owns 224 homes, and Wells Fargo owns 87. 87 is not a huge number, but they still own 87 homes simply within Collier County itself. And in Lee County, Deutsche Bank owns 682 homes. That is staggering. And Wells Fargo owns 296 homes. But you should know that there are alternatives to foreclosure. We're all aware of the fact that banks and mortgage lenders are overloaded with these foreclosed homes, and since they're not in the business of owning homes, they're attempting to work with borrowers to help them to avoid foreclosure. And one of the ways that we've heard that this can be done is with a short sale. Very many people think that a short sale, because of the way that it's initially presented to them, is that it's the answer to the appraise. And just like anything else, if it's true, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. A short sale is defined as the sale of a home for less money than is owed on it, basically. For example, if you own a home for $200,000 and you receive a $150,000 offer on the house, you can, in fact, obtain the lender's permission to sell the house for $150,000. Question of the century, of course, is what do we do with the $50,000 that is still due? And a couple of things can happen with that $50,000, and that is what makes makes a short sale a little bit scary, very time-consuming, and somewhat of a drawback. The $50,000 can still be due and payable by you. It can be written off by the lender. However, if it is written off by the lender can indicate to the IRS that was, they'll 1099 you as they would, you'd receive a 1099 from your bank or you receive a 1099 from your mortgage company. They'll send this form to you, and it's going to indicate that you had received this as taxable income, and at the end of the year, the IRS is going to be looking to you for payment. Although we always hear about how people are affected by the foreclosures that are going on in their neighborhood, we always think, we're sad our neighbors have left and this is what we're left with, they're no longer there. But one of the things that we probably don't think about is that the people that we leave behind or that are left behind are drastically affected by these foreclosed homes. There are a multitude of police news reports dealing with crimes associated with these foreclosed homes. City and county officials have been extremely lenient when enforcing city and county codes. And in the past week, they've been trying to protect, with some new laws, homeowners from unsightly neighboring properties. Another issue that they seem to be having is with animals that have been left behind. Some of these homeowners have picked up, taken off, cannot bring their animals with them, and the animals are left behind. Other homes are just vandalized, or they're left in such a disarray that they just continuously go downhill. Mold, mildew, rain, heat, all of these things are just further going to bring the price of the house down, and in turn bring the price of the houses, the neighboring houses, down. 3 years later, a 26-mile drive can now take me 20 minutes, 25 minutes, the way that it really should be. Like I said earlier, that compacted area out there in the estates has quickly diminished, and it has become as familiar as it was the day that I first got there. Only remnants that are left out there are abandoned homes, and what was once an area booming with new construction is now only lightly sprinkled with occupied homes. I can honestly say that I have been personally affected by foreclosed homes in my neighborhood. I can lightheartedly laugh about the shortened driving times that I experienced, but just how quickly the value of my 3-year-old home has diminished is no laughing matter. One of the questions that I continue to ask myself is, where has everyone gone? It isn't as though the situation's any better in any other state. And I haven't found an answer to that question. The simplest explanation that I have is that they have just simply gone to find the American dream somewhere else.